Will the ACC settle with Clemson and Florida State? Does Clemson have a bye week curse? Will the offensive explosion that we saw against App State continue against NC State this weekend when Clemson kicks off against them this Saturday? All of that and more coming up in tonight's show. Thank you all for joining me. I am, as always, your host, Tiger Paul Craven. We got a jam-packed show for you guys tonight. Welcome into the All-In Show at the voice of Clemson football, at the voice of college football. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. Hit that like button while you're in here. This is a live video. The likes really help us out with the YouTube algorithm on these live videos. We try to get them as close as possible to the amount of people that are steadily in the live. So if you guys could help us out with that, that would be greatly appreciated. And last but certainly not least, if you want to support me and Jordan's work here at the All-In Show and at Clemson Football, at the Voice of College Football, we have the Super Chat feature available that will guarantee that your comment and or question gets read and responded to on the live show, and, of course, support what we do here on the channel. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on my co-host, Jordan Bowman. Jordan, it's finally game week, man. We had an early bye. Got another bye coming up later in the season, but it's finally the week of the Textile Bowl. I hope you're excited.
Yeah, I'm always excited for this week. In particular, you know, this is a game I look forward to every season as a North Carolina native. Yeah, you know, I have a lot of experience with this university, that fan base. And let's just say I don't particularly care for them all that much. So I look forward to this game every year. And, you know, the two out of the last 3 years, I've come away not so happy. So I'm looking for a change. So, but no, yeah, I'm just glad it's game week. It just feels strange having a bye week, you know, so early in the year that we're coming off of. But, you know, that has spelled issues for Clemson in the past few seasons, and we'll talk about that. But regardless, I'm just ready to watch this team play again because, after what we saw last game, you just been kind of chomping at the bit to see them, get out there. So,
Yeah.
and see if they can continue this momentum.
Absolutely. Definitely some questions will be answered on Saturday, noon kickoff for the Tigers when NC State travels into Death Valley. Some big questions will be answered for this Clemson Tiger team, and we're going to get into all of that and more. But I hope you guys had a great week. Remember, this is the new time for the All-In Show, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Little bit of a lighter crowd in here tonight. So if you guys could spread the word that we are here Wednesday night at 8 p.m. We are no longer doing the 5:30 on Fridays. We moved the show so there's some distance in between our preview and prediction shows and the live reaction shows that we do immediately following the game. So thank you guys all for being in here. We got 17 people in the live chat. Hit that like button for us while you're in here. If you're not subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing. We put out videos throughout the week. We also do at least 2 live shows a week, one being the All-In Show, the second being the live reaction to any Clemson game. So quick shout out to the comment section, and then we will dive right into the show because we got a ton to talk about, and I want to save time for you guys, the comment section at the end of the show, so we can chop it up with you before we get out of here for the night. Tiggs is in here. First comment of the night. Thanks so much for supporting us. One of our moderators as well. Show Out Gaming's in here. David is in here. Porsche Pal is in here. John Sarian, another one of our fine moderators in here, one of the OGs of the show and the channel. Let's see. Zachariah is in here. Taco Gaming. Isaac is in here. Eric. We got our first super chat of the night. Thank you so much, Zachariah. He said it was either this or get my girl flowers. Priorities. Hashtag go Tigers. Well, Zach, I don't know that I would advise you to send us super chats instead of buy your girl flowers. But hey, who am I to judge? I appreciate it anyway. I think you made the right decision, and I'm sure she'll understand. You know
what? I mean, if she doesn't understand, you might be better off without her.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
How does she really feel about the Clemson Tigers if she doesn't understand that?
Right. Exactly. Thank you so much, Zachariah, and rest in peace to your relationship. But it's going to a good cause, so we'll.
That's right.
We'll make it worth your while.
That's right. It's going to a great cause. We'll try to entertain and make it worth your while for sure. But we can't fill our lives, Zach, with people that are not all in. Okay, so she's either got to get on board or move along. I think that's I think I hit everybody that's in here. Oh, hold on. Like Mike is in here. Thank you so much for showing up. All right, we got 21 people in the live chat. Hit that like button while you're in here, please, please, please. It really helps us out. If you're not subscribed, please do so. And without further ado, we got another super chat. So hold that thought.
Boy, Koozie again, hitting me with Pookie JoJo Bear again. He says, "I'm back." Pookie JoJo Bear, I love you. I love you too, Koozie.
I keep forgetting your nickname now, so I got to add that into my intro piece. We'll do it together.
One of these days, I fully expect you to bring me on and when I'm not looking and edit my name, so it says that. That would be.
Yeah, we'll make it happen one of these days. Appreciate you, Koozie. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for supporting the show. Really do appreciate it. All right, Jordan. We got a lot of different segments to get into tonight. So let's go ahead and dive into the first segment of the night. And the first segment that we will talk about is none other than conference expansion and this report, rumor, whatever you want to call it, about the ACC exploring new revenue structures that would possibly in the lawsuits between the ACC, Florida State, and Clemson. So it sounds like they're trying to explore different revenue models that would satisfy both Florida State and Clemson and keep them inside the conference. The ACC presidents met last week in Charlotte. They talked about it then. They talked about it on their weekly call this week as well. Discussions are conceptual at this point, which is a fancy way of saying they have no idea what they're going to do, in my opinion. But they are talking about different avenues and possibly creating separate sources of revenue that could be divvied up based on media analytics, eyes on the screen, that type of stuff, which would obviously favor brands like Clemson and Florida State. Also changing the grant of rights date from 2036 to a sooner date. And then all of this comes on the back of, obviously, February. ESPN has to make the decision on whether they are going to, extend the deal with the ACC. If they didn't, that would end the deal in 2027 instead of going through 2036. So big decision there coming for ESPN. I'm sure this is somewhat motivated by that. But what are your thoughts on all this conference expansion news, this ACC settlement news coming out mid-season? I know we don't like to cover it a whole lot on this channel, but I figured it was at least worth a topic of conversation. Do you think there's any real traction that's going to happen with these settlement talks? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm kind of skeptical. I think the schools have gone through so much litigation, in both the ACC and the two schools have gone through so much litigation at this point that it's like, I don't know how much, is how much there is to fix that can be fixed at this point in terms of like the relations between the two, the conference and those two schools. And I think the difficulty is whatever revenue sharing model that they were to drum up, and obviously we don't have the details on that because the discussions are still pretty preliminary. Like, how would that ultimately appease the concerns of Florida State and Clemson? Would it be to the degree that they deem necessary in order to feel comfortable staying within the conference? I don't know. Obviously I don't have the access to those numbers and I haven't done the math, but at
the end of the day, you're talking about a $30 million gap.
Yeah.
That you're trying to fill. Personally, I don't see where that's feasible, whether you generate a new source of revenue or not. I don't know how you get close to that number or close enough to that number where Clemson and Florida State would be like, okay, we'll stay, Yeah.
And that's going to be the difficult thing. And until we know more, because again, these talks have been preliminary. Nothing's been official. They're just kind of exploring options right now and seeing what can be done. And so if they do strike a deal, we'll have more details. But till then, I'm kind of skeptical. And, I think this is more of a kind of just, well, if we don't have to go through months and months and months of litigation and court dates and all that, then let's see if we can do that. But other than that, I don't really see it. It would take something unforeseen, I would think, for them to have some sort of feasible deal put in place that would, be beneficial. So we'll see.
I agree. And not to mention that whatever deal they do come up with has to get a 2/3 vote by the rest of the conference members as well. And, those conference members probably aren't very highly motivated to forfeit some of their cash and throw it into Clemson and FSU's pocket just to keep them within the ACC. Again, I could be wrong. They could strike a deal and the other conference members are on board and, these lawsuits kind of go away. I don't see that happening. I think everything is so public at this point with the lawsuits and the back and forth and the kind of the journey that it's gone on this summer. I just think there's a place of no return, and I think we've already passed that place for both Clemson and Florida State. Maybe there's somewhat of a deal that struck to temporarily keep them in, maybe to that 2027 date. Maybe they move the grant of rights to that 2027 date, and maybe you could see Clemson and Florida State stick it out for that amount of time. I guess that's in the realm of possibility, but outside of that, I don't know. I don't see there being any long-term solution for the ACC to keep both institutions in the conference.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, guys, keep in mind you can catch Clemson live on your favorite audio platform, streaming on all podcast platforms. Check it out. Our long-term content here, the all-in show that we do, the reaction shows, all the cut-ups are streaming on your audio platforms. Anywhere you get your podcasts, just search Clemson Live. Check us out, and you can listen to us there as well. That is greatly appreciated. 33 people in the live chat right now. Thank you guys so much for being here, for showing up. Get into the comment section. As you guys know, at the end of the show, me and Jordan will turn it over to the comment section and chop it up with you guys for as long as we possibly can, answer as many questions, and just talk about college football or whatever you guys want to talk about at the end of the show. So stick around for that. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. And as always, hit that like button while you are in here. All right, Jordan, it's time to talk about Clemson's quote-unquote bye-week curse. We have not played well the past, let's say, 3 seasons coming out of a bye week. The last time we truly played well coming out of a bye week was 2020, where we played Pitt and kind of destroyed them. But 2021, we played Syracuse. Very, very close game. I was actually at that game in Syracuse. It was a nail-biter all the way to the end. Clemson actually wins that game 17-14. 2022 rolls around, got a bye week right before the Notre Dame game, and they just absolutely bodied us for 4 quarters. You remember the line of scrimmage was just It was very evident that we were mismatched in that game. It was almost embarrassing to watch how both our defense and our offensive line just got pushed around the entire game. We ended up losing that game 35-14. And then last year, heading into the Miami game, we had a bye week, go on, lose in overtime to Miami 28-20. Not a great game for us. We've just seemed to stumble and kind of start very slow out of our bye weeks. So with that picture painted over the past 3 seasons, what is your take on the Clemson bye week curse? Do you buy into it? Will Clemson come out aggressive, or will they be flat like they have been the past 3 seasons coming out of the bye week? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question. Like, I think the biggest thing, for me, and I guess for the entire fan base watching, you want to see this staff really have these guys prepared. I felt like that preparation was lacking the last 3 years. I mean, 2021, every game was basically a nail biter because you were barely scoring like 25 points a game. But 2022 coming, bye week, and then you have that Notre Dame game. Yeah, it was windy, but you couldn't push the ball down the field, couldn't run the ball. Offensive line got whooped. Special teams was a disaster. Like, there were a lot of phases in the game where it was just kind of a system failure. And in 2023, we know how last year, how the Miami game went. You're up by 10 with in the fourth quarter, and poor clock management, poor play calling, kind of allowed Miami to get back in that game. And they were starting a true freshman backup quarterback. The defensive line didn't have their best day. They got ran all over. And of course, we know how that game ended with in overtime. Kay Clemson kind of calling his own number. So it feels like these last 3 seasons coming out of the bye week, this staff has not been able to get the team adequately prepared and focused, coming out. And so, we've talked about how much this coaching staff is upgraded and how much things have changed since that 2021 season. The staff looks a lot different on paper. And you feel like you have a lot more experience, and even some of the inexperienced hires you had back then have grown and matured. At least some of them, the ones that didn't get fired. So I think that the reality is you need to see this team come out, especially the first quarter. You want to get out to a good start. This NC State team, I think, is probably. Honestly, they're probably the worst team you've played. I don't know. That Syracuse team in 21 wasn't very good, now that I think about it. But still, they don't look like one of the better teams you've played. And, it's kind of different from what we thought they were going to be, heading into the season. So I really think that, with all the momentum you built against from App State, you've had a week to prepare, an extra week to prepare, get healthy. And see if you can build on that momentum. I wouldn't call it a curse, but I do think it's a trend that needs to be broken.
Right. Absolutely. It's certainly at a minimum a pattern at this point, and not a good one, and not one that you want to continue. And this is a game in NC State where they're rolling in, and let's be completely honest. They've beat us 2 out of the 3 seasons, albeit at their stadium, and this is at Death Valley. They haven't beat us in Death Valley since 2002 when Phillip Rivers was their quarterback. Yeah. He's already had an NFL career, had 17 kids, and retired. But they haven't beat us in Death Valley. But again, that doesn't mean they can't. And just because Grayson McCall's hurt and they're starting a freshman quarterback does not mean anything. We lost to Miami starting a freshman backup quarterback last year, coming out of the bye week, right? Now, one would assume this offense is much better than that one of last year. At least they looked like it in one game and looked pretty similar in the other game, but I digress. This is certainly a trend that has to be broken. Now, I will say, listening to the player interviews this week, it seems that they are coming with the right energy, the right intensity. They seem to be saying the right things, but again, that's easy to do when you're talking to the media, to say all the right things and toe the company line, if you will, so to speak. It's a different thing when you roll out on that field, and it's a noon game. Sometimes teams start out a little slow in noon games. It might not be the most intense atmosphere that's possible in Death Valley. Not that Death Valley's ever a quiet place to play, but if you had to pick a time to play, noon is the time you want to play, right? You certainly don't want to play a night game in the Valley, so they get a noon game. So Clemson's got to come out and be ready, and they got to come out with the same intensity that they stepped onto that field against App State. Take shots early, stretch the defense, really attack that defense and go after them. Don't come out with these, this conservative play calling where you're just kind of trying to, feel the game out. No, I want to see them go out there and go after that NC State defense early and often.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it's going to be a good test for, like I said, a good test for, how much this coaching staff has improved. I think it'll be a good litmus test. We'll dive into the specifics. This is not, the best, at least through 3 weeks, this is not the best looking NC State team that we've seen.
Right.
But they do have some really talented football players. And there is that unknown of starting a true freshman quarterback now. This is going to be, you're going to learn a little bit about the staff and how they've prepared these guys, and also how they make adjustments if things look a little bit different than how they're expected.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. All right, guys, the time has come. We're going to get a word from our sponsor, and then me and Jordan will be right back after the video plays. You guys stick with us. We'll see you on the other side.
College football is even more exciting with some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the voice of college football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Let's start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread. I've got a 40-year track record. In fact, in 2023, at $100 played per game, you would have netted over $9,300. And guess what? I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill, our ace in the hole, show stopper from Wager Talk. 6 years with the voice of college football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick, which went 21-5 against the spread the last 2 seasons. I repeat, 21-5 against the spread. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Steve Dace and Matt Zemek. Become a YouTube channel member or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2024 a winner now.
All right, guys, you heard that. You heard Mark. Go subscribe to the Patreon. Get those insider picks. Get all of that knowledge if that's what you're into, if you enjoy sports betting, whether it's just to make a game more interesting or it's just something you enjoy and like to do. Go check out Mark. He does a great job with all of the guests that he brings on and really gives you some quality picks and some insider type information that'll help you out and maybe even win you a little bit of money. So check that out. 35 people in the live chat right now. We got 23 likes. Please get that a little bit closer to 35 for me if you guys can. That would be greatly appreciated. We're going to go ahead and move along with the show, Jordan. And next topic we're going to cover tonight, Jordan, we're going to talk about the injury updates for the Tigers. We got some somewhat unfortunate news this past week. Another depth piece along that offensive line takes another hit. We got Dietrich Pennington out for the season with a partially torn ACL, but it was a significant enough injury to where they do have to surgically repair it. So they go ahead and wind him down for the season. He's going to have surgery and begin his rehab process. Hopefully be back next season. Again, that's junior or redshirt junior Dietrich Pennington. So another depth piece for that offensive line is out. Outside of that, we didn't get very many injury updates from Dabo Swinney. He was asked about both Peter Woods and Tyler Brown. And again, he's on with the day-to-day routine this year. That's his only comment for injuries this year is just day-to-day. So what's your thoughts about the loss of Dietrich Pennington? Any impact that would have along the offensive line? And then what's your feel for Peter Woods, Tyler Brown? I know Dabo says they're day-to-day. Do you have any feel on if both of those guys will play, if they'll try to hold them, will they be limited? What's your kind of feel on the situation?
Yeah, on Dietrich Pennington, I hate it for him. It's just unfortunate. He's a guy that has, at this point been in the program a really long time, has not worked his way as a starter, but they felt like he was ready to be a significant depth piece for them this year, and injuries suck, and that's kind of been a trend for him over his career, and so that's unfortunate for him from his development standpoint. He's one of the older guys in that room now, and kind of trying to get him in game shape has been a continuous battle because he's dealt with so many injuries, and so now you've got to reset the clock a little bit again. They're going to try to get him this year back with a medical red shirt, so that way he'd have 2 years of eligibility. Yeah. But again, that's just another setback for him, and it's unfortunate. And Clemson's depth on the interior that takes a hit. We've talked about how this line does not have a wealth of depth as far as the guys that have played and have been around a long time. I've been pleased with the things that you've been hearing out of some of the younger guys like Elijah Thurman and Mason Wade as true freshmen. But again, this is not a very loaded offensive line room. I mean, you have your starting five, and then you have two guys that really like two guys that you feel good, decent about coming in off the bench and and Trent Howard and Colin Sadler. So you don't really have anything else that has played anybody else that has played significantly. So, that's kind of a really precarious situation for this offensive line. So you're going to need these guys to stay healthy. Hate it for Pennington. Hope he makes a speedy recovery because he's going to have some opportunity next year to really work his way in as a starter. You have with presumably guys like Marcus Tate and Walker Parks, leaving the program. Those guard spots are going to be up for grabs. So
that's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Good news on Marcus Tate. He is full go at practice. Dabo did give that earlier in the week. So good to hear that he is not limited whatsoever. And, Dabo said that he could have gone in the App State game should they have needed him. But luckily they were able to hold him. Then we get the bye week, so he should be 100% ready to rock and roll. We'll see about, Tyler Brown, Peter Woods, how much go time they'll get, how much playing time they'll get. But thinking about Peter Woods, and if he's not able to go, I mean, as a Clemson fan, that's got to worry you a little bit, right? Who do you really have behind him? Cade Denhoff, maybe. AJ Hoffler. Those are the first two names that kind of come to mind. You got Jaheim Lawson as well, but again, it does worry me to think that Peter Woods could be limited, especially knowing that NC State's going to try to stretch that, and they're gonna go after that for sure if he's limited at all, and try to break contain and try to get us out on the edge, and cause some damage that way. So I think that is somewhat of a concern heading into this game. Just looking at the injuries, we're not super deep at edge, so hopefully Peter Woods can go.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to think, just kind of reading the tea leaves, I don't have any sort of knowledge of what his status is going to be like for the game, but I've kind of just had the feeling since last week that they're going to hold him. But if he can go, I mean, obviously I'd much rather have him on the field than not. But you do have to wonder, if they bring him out there, is he going to be completely healthy, or is he going to be operating at like 85, 90%? What do we know? And then with Tyler Brown, I think I feel pretty good that he'll play at least some. So, but I don't have any knowledge of that. But obviously his injury was less severe and more of a precautionary thing. So we'll see.
Yeah, it seems like they kind of made a point to say that he was pulled out of that game as a precautionary type deal. So it seems to me that he could have continued to play in that game, which means after a bye week, he should be ready to rock and roll and get out there and play again. Peter Woods, I think, is a different animal. And to your point, you talk about him being maybe 80, 90%. Does that create a liability on the edge with them trying to get outside and break contain? That's always something to think about. And I'm sure the coaches are thinking about that as well. And that will factor into the decision of, how good does he feel and if he's going to play or not. So again, we won't get any of that information until they run out there with the first guys running out there for the defense on Saturday. So don't expect any information other than day to day at this point.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, we got 38 people in the live chat right now. Make sure you guys check out the College Football Show with Mark Rogers, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mark is on there talking about all things college football. So you guys make sure you head over to the main channel, subscribe if you hadn't already, and be sure to chop it up with Mark during the College Football Show that he does every morning, Monday through Friday. Make sure you guys are there to support and check that out, and tell them the guys from the Clemson page sent you over there. That would be greatly appreciated. All right, Jordan, it's time to turn the page finally to NC State and really kind of dive into the matchups between Clemson and NC State and how we see it from our perspective, right? And we're going to start off with the Clemson offense versus the NC State defense. Clemson's offense coming off a huge day against App State, right? Over 700 yards of total offense. Cade had himself a day, 5 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, setting records all over the place for first quarter points, first half points in Clemson history. So it was truly a special half of football for the offense as a first team goes. Then obviously transition to the second half. Chris Vizina comes in, a lot of the backups come in, and we start seeing that depth get some work. On the defensive side of the ball, they really started rotating guys in at the end of the first quarter, second quarter for sure, and kind of rotated a lot of depth pieces in. But the Clemson offense stacked up against this North Carolina State defense. Obviously, they run the 3-3-5 primarily. They do obviously do some other stuff as well, but primarily they're in that 3-3-5 defense. How do you think this Clemson offense is going to be able to stack up against that? What challenges do you think that creates for specifically the passing game? And how do you see Clemson and Garrett Riley going about attacking that style of defense?
Yeah, it's we know how the game went last year. I mean, you had 364 yards of offense, which isn't like a banner day, but right. It was a lot of underneath, dink and dunk, type of plays. You didn't really have many explosive plays, and NC State kind of pinned their ears back and limited your run game. So it's going to be a really big test for Cade Klubnik as far as his development and from where he was last year. Obviously, I think you're in a better spot from a receiver standpoint and offensive line standpoint for that matter. So it's going to be a test. NC State's defense has consistently been one of the more stout units over the last few years. But this year, they've certainly shown some holes. I think the biggest thing is they're not quite as special as they were at linebacker over the last couple of years. I think they've really missed guys like Peyton Wilson, who's now in the NFL. You go back and watch that Tennessee game. Tennessee, it wasn't even Nico like bombing them over the top and hitting big plays. Tennessee just got whatever they wanted in the run game. They spread them out and ran the ball against light boxes. I think I think Clemson can take some pages out of that.
Yeah.
And so I do think this is going to be this does have an opportunity to be a big Phil Mafah day. If you are able to create those running lanes, it's going to be big. So I need this Clemson offensive line to play with the same intensity that they've played with the previous 2 games. Because I think the plays will be there. NC State, well, it is a 3-3-5, but they do like to show a lot of pressure. They play around a lot, sending different types of blitzes. So Clemson is going to have, I'm interested to see how Garrett Riley gets creative with kind of taking advantage of, their aggressiveness. And so, the game plan wise, I think, establishing the run first and foremost. But second, I think throwing where they aren't is a great strategy. And so in terms of when they blitz, that means there's a zone that's vacated.
So identifying your hot routes,
right? And so that's going to be big for Cade as well, because I think that's something that we haven't seen him have to he wasn't able to do it very successfully against Georgia, and he didn't really have to do it all that much against App State because they weren't getting a ton of pressure. But I think this NC State defensive line and front seven is still plenty good enough to present some challenges. So I think that's going to be all the more important. So I think this is a opportunity for a big Phil Mafah day. But Cade needs to hit his, hit the layups when they're there, and eventually, maybe NC State, has to, creep up and try to take away that run game, and you can hit explosive plays over the top. So,
yeah, absolutely. You're going to have to kind of pull them down a little bit and use
right.
that run game against them to have some of those guys start creeping up into the box instead of, dropping 5 or dropping 7 people into coverage that they do at times. So the running game is obviously going to be key. You mentioned the offensive line. It always starts in the trenches with every single college football game, but it's very important for Clemson to get off to a hot start and be able to run the ball at will against this NC State team. And one of the interesting things that I think you mentioned is Klubnik really didn't get pressured at all versus App State. He kind of sat back there with a pretty clean pocket all day and kind of picked apart that defense. This NC State defense isn't going to sit back and let him do that. They will bring the pressure. They will try to speed him up at times, I think, and try to get him off of schedule and try to get him uncomfortable and second-guessing what he's seeing, mix up their coverages, try to bait him into throwing balls that he shouldn't throw. So Cade's going to have to be smart in this game and really, trust his eyes, trust what he's seeing, not take the bait, and, push the ball down the field when they give him the opportunity. But this could be a big Phil Moffitt day. This could be a big running the ball day, especially early, trying to open up that defense and get a little bit more room to work in the passing game. But I don't want to see Clemson abandon the passing game at all. You still want to see them work it in there on the perimeter, across the middle, try to loosen those guys up along with Phil Moffitt in the running game. So a lot of differences that Clemson will encounter. Different challenges, obviously the step up in competition, but just from a schematic standpoint, I think it's going to be a bigger challenge for this Clemson offense, and we'll see how they kind of transition after that huge explosive week. I know everybody in that room is probably feeling super confident. Cade probably feeling the most confident at that point, and that's where you want your quarterback. But go in there, take care of the ball, make smart decisions, don't force anything, keep being that game manager that you were talking about. That doesn't mean you're a bad quarterback. That means you're playing within the system and getting rid of those hero ball plays that turn into catastrophic turnovers so many times for Clemson last season. So that's kind of my take on Clemson's offense and really what they need to do. Obviously, it's going to start on the line of scrimmage, Phil Moffitt establishing that running game first and foremost.
Absolutely. And again, I do want to say, like, I think the opportunities will be there. I mean, NC State, through just watching them through these 3 games, I mean, offensively, we'll talk about their offense, but offensively they haven't been good. It's been very, very clear. But and defensively, they have not been nearly as as solid as they've been in previous years. So I think there's going to be opportunities to create plays in the passing game. I mentioned Tennessee, but even Western Carolina and Louisiana Tech had success against that defense, and it's they're one of the worst. They're one of the worst teams in the Power Four in terms of yards per play differential. So I believe they're 94th in the country defensively and like 110th offensively. So. They have they have not been very impressive so far, but I do expect, I do think they have some really talented players, and they're still trying to kind of figure themselves out. So it would not surprise me if they came out, with a spirited effort. So, but again, I do think that there will be plays to be had against this NC State defense, and I think you're in a much better spot than you were last year offensively, and I don't think they're in nearly as good of a spot defensively as they were. So,
yeah, obviously. A pipe dream thinking that NC State's going to come out there flat. Dave Doran and Dabo Swinney, there's no love lost there between those 2 coaches. There's no love lost between the 2 fan bases. So obviously this is a game that NC State wants badly. Even though they've beaten Clemson 2 out of the last 3 years, Dave Doran has never won in Death Valley. And that's a feather that he wants in his cap before he hangs it up at North Carolina State. That would be an epic win for him and his career. So definitely they're going to come out there with a spirited effort. They're going to come out there ready to play, and Clemson's going to have to, like I said, I want to see Clemson stay aggressive on offense. Just like they were aggressive against App State and really attacking that defense, I want to see them do the exact same thing against NC State. Obviously, it's a completely different defense, completely different scheme, upgraded personnel, so you can't attack them exactly the same way, meaning it's not going to be the exact same game plan, but the aggressiveness is more what I'm referring to. I want to see that aggressiveness from play one all the way through until the clock's hit 0 in the fourth quarter.
Absolutely.
All right, Jordan, let's go ahead and turn the page to the Clemson defense versus this NC State offense. Now, as you kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, this NC State offense has not been great this season. They've struggled against literally every opponent they've played so far. The one Power 5 opponent that they played in Tennessee, absolutely, they couldn't do anything on offense. Western Carolina gave them fits. La Tech gave them fits as well. Their offense has looked painful so far this season, has looked much like Clemson's offense has looked the past 3 seasons. Just nothing looks easy for them. Everything's difficult. Nothing really flows. They haven't really been able to establish any sort of rhythm this year. Grayson McCall, as much success as he had at Coastal Carolina, that has not translated at NC State. And again, if you're an NC State fan, I'm sure they are like banging their head into the wall at this point because they get transfer quarterback after transfer quarterback, and none of them seem to pan out once they come to NC State for whatever reason. Not blaming that on NC State at all, but that's just the history of NC State and their transfer quarterbacks as of recent. But they will be starting a freshman QB against the Clemson Tigers on Saturday. They got some skill players banged up, including Concepcion. He's banged up a little bit. I'm sure he's going to play. But again, I don't think he's 100%. They got a couple other guys banged up as well. Now, the one thing I think that the freshman QB that they will be bringing in does give them is, he moves pretty well. He can move around. He can do some things with his legs. So maybe that lends to a little bit more success for them, especially when plays start to break down. If Clemson's defense kind of loses contain, they rush up the field too far. They don't keep disciplined and contained when they're rushing the quarterback. That can turn into some very frustrating conversions on probably third down and so on and so forth for this NC State offense versus this Clemson defense. But again, they got the running back transferred in from Duke. He hasn't had a ton of success this season behind that offensive line. They're not going to have very much success, I would assume, against this Clemson defensive line. Pretty stingy defensive line when it comes to the run game. We all know our defensive tackles are just stout in the running game, and we've done really well defending that so far this season, outside of the second half of that Georgia game where they broke a couple big runs on us. But outside of those, pretty good job as far as run defense so far this year. So I'm excited to see how this Clemson defense stacks up. What are your thoughts on this NC State offense and how they kind of match up against this Clemson defense?
Yeah, I mean, through 2 games, I don't think we've gotten the full picture. I mean, we've talked about how the offense was really kind of a tale of 2 games. But defensively, I don't think we have a full picture of this group yet either, because, Georgia played really well for a half. Things kind of, the dam kind of broke in that second half. When you weren't able to generate anything offensively. And then, against App State, I mean, I thought you played well defensively, but at least in the first quarter, but really, just the second quarter was kind of rough. But you played solid, defensively. You played a lot of guys, so it's not really, you weren't really able to tell much. This is your first, game against a Power 5 opponent. We're going to kind of see what this defense is against the middle. and not just, you're playing Georgia or you're playing App State. Although, one might argue that App State might be better than this NC State team. We'll see. So I do think, with the struggles that NC State has had on offense, I want this defense to look the part. They have NC State is, like you said, they've not been able to run the ball really effectively at all in any of their games.
Yep.
Jordan Waters is a talented back, but can't really do much if your offensive line can't block. And quite frankly, I don't think Grayson McCall was very good.
No.
And he has not been a good quarterback, and I do think he's been honestly a hindrance. Like, you can say, oh, they have some limitations on the offensive line and all that, but I think Grayson McCall was flat out bad. Just looked really lost out there, could not read zone at all. So I really think that, while you're starting a true freshman at quarterback, I think there are some things that he'll be able to do better than Grayson did by a lot. And that's what makes this so interesting. CJ Bailey is a talented player. He was a blue chip prospect. I think he went to Chaminade Madonna, I want to say. Yeah, because he was the quarterback for Jeremiah Smith, who's at Ohio State. Yeah. So he has talent. He's a good quarterback. But again, I think defensively, I want you to look the part and take advantage of the fact that you're playing a true freshman quarterback.
Right.
Get pressure. See what he looks like. When there's guys in his face and he's having to throw under pressure. If he beats you over the top and he looks good, then so be it. But I think this is a good opportunity for this defense to really get after it, because that's something we haven't really seen a bunch of, through 2 games. It's been have not been a blitz heavy team, a super blitz heavy team. And you haven't generated a ton of sacks this year. So, this would be a good opportunity to rack that up a little bit. But I do think that the X factor for this NC State team is definitely their pass catchers. You mentioned Casey Concepcion, who's been rumored to be dealing with an injury. I've heard some people say that he won't play. I've heard very differing opinions on that. So
he's gonna play.
I don't know, man. We'll talk about the line movement, but the line movement has been kind of interesting to watch. Clemson opened up as a like a 16 and a half point,
and it's up to 20 and a half.
Yeah, like
that's a huge shift.
They can't all just be because Grayson McCall is not playing, especially since I think Grayson McCall
even played that well.
Grayson McCall wasn't good.
If I'm being honest, I think the freshman coming in and getting his first start actually plays better for NC State than it does for Clemson. Like, I think
I do too, actually.
Good thing, because Grayson McCall's been, frankly, let's just be honest, he's been terrible through 3 weeks. So why not? I know it's because of injury. They didn't bench Grayson McCall and bring in the freshman. I know it's because of injury, but again, I think this is a good thing for NC State. And I think it's going to challenge the Clemson defense a lot more than if Grayson McCall was healthy and in there.
Right. Because I think Grayson McCall was a pretty easy scout for the teams that he was playing. He was not able to operate that offense and get them going. The only touchdown they scored against Tennessee was on a pick six. They could do nothing. Yeah. And so I think this might work a little bit better in NC State's favor than what it seems like on paper, just because now there's an unknown. You don't really know. CJ Bailey came in that second half against Louisiana Tech and played pretty well, but you don't know exactly what you're going to get out of him, with a full week of game planning, knowing he's going to be the starter. Right. So. I think there's going to be it's going to be interesting to see how he comes out and plays. But again, I think the X factor is these receivers. Yes. Casey Concepcion, Noah Rogers, obviously DJ Collins coming back.
That's right.
making his return to the Valley, the former Tiger. He's been a decent weapon for them. And so, and then their tight end, Jolie, I don't know. I think it might be Jolie. He's a guy they're really, really high on. He's played well in spots, hasn't played well in others. So, this NC State, pass catching group has a lot of potential to give you some problems, but, it really is going to depend on the person throwing them the ball and, how he's able to manage that pressure. So I think getting after him is going to be a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You have to pressure him. If you're Clemson's defense, you have to come after him, get him off his spot, speed him up, make him make decisions a lot quicker than he wants to. Disguise coverages, show him one thing pre-snap, change it to another thing post-snap. So just doing that, take advantage, like you said, of the fact that they're starting a true freshman quarterback and really go out there and try to confuse him and speed him up and get that pressure going. I feel really good about preventing the run. I don't think NC State's going to be able to run at all against this Clemson defense. Their offensive line just isn't good enough, and this defensive front is far too good. I would be shocked and frankly really irritated if Clemson allows them to have any sort of success on the ground because that would be unacceptable. Now, I think maybe some scrambling and things like that. I could see Bailey getting outside of the pocket and doing things like that off script. But a traditional run game, I don't see an avenue there for NC State. But like you said, it starts with their skill players. How healthy is Concepcion? They said they got a couple other guys banged up. How healthy are they? What is their true injury situation? What does it look like? I don't think we have a clear picture of it or how serious any of the injuries or how banged up they actually are. We'll see it obviously on Saturday, but it'll be a long day. I think if you don't have Concepcion on that field for a young freshman quarterback making his first start in a place like Death Valley with that front seven coming after you. If you don't have that dynamic playmaker, and I'm not saying he's the only playmaker for North Carolina State, but he's that guy, right? Like he's that guy that gives defenses problems regardless of how good or bad this offense is. Defensive coordinators have to key in on Concepcion because wherever he is, he's a danger anytime he has the ball in his hand. So if they're without him, I think it probably turns into a very long day for this offense.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think, one of the things that tells you everything is, just go and watch NC State's games. They have been it really has, that offense really did revolve around and has revolved around Concepcion and his ability and what defenses do to defend him. And that opens things up for everybody else. They force feed him the ball a lot. They did it a ton against Tennessee. And I think it was a pretty honest, kind of that admission by them implicitly that, we don't really trust our other guys. We think we have some talented pieces, but we don't have anybody else like Concepcion. And we need him to make plays to keep this offense on schedule. So if he's not ready to go, that's going to put even more pressure on those other guys to make plays. So, and again, CJ Bailey is a guy that has a lot of physical talent. He's really tall. He's like 6'7".
He's a big dude.
He's a big dude. And he's going to be a tough guy to bring down because he does have that playmaking ability with his legs. He's he made some plays with his legs, extending plays against Louisiana Tech. So it's going to be important for this linebacker group to bring guys down. That's one thing I've been disappointed with, through the first two games was the tackling and the effort in some in some spots at the linebacker position. So You got to be better at that because you can't just you're not going to be able to arm tackle that guy. It's going to be it's going to present some challenges because there's not a lot of tape on him, but I do think that this is a good. I do think things set up pretty well for Clemson defensively, as long as you take advantage of it.
Yeah, exactly. Play a disciplined game. Stay within the defense. Don't get caught out of position. That's where you're going to get in trouble, right? When you get caught out of position, if the defensive line lets Bailey go out there and keep breaking contain and keep chewing up yards with his legs, that's how it becomes kind of a frustrating performance for our defense, right? That's the only real avenue I see for North Carolina State being able to sustain drives is on the legs of Bailey and escaping the pocket and Clemson's defense not being disciplined in that way of containing him and keeping him inside and making him beat you with his arm. Like you said before, if he beats you over the top with his arm, hey, so be it. But don't let him get outside of the pocket and kind of just freelance and create with his legs. Don't allow him to do that because that's where he's going to gain confidence. That's where he's going to get comfortable. So you got to keep him confined inside that pocket, bring the pressure, and make him beat you with his arms because they're not going to be able to line up and just run the ball at Clemson. So it's going to be on that young true freshman Bailey to sit back and dissect this defense through the air. And I think if you contain him within that pocket, I don't think he's going to be able to do that.
I'm with you.
All right, you want to add anything about the NC State Clemson matchup before we move on?
We don't need to spend a ton of time on special teams, but obviously don't lose. I think in a game like this, you don't want special teams to lose you the game because I do think things played pretty well in your favor on both sides of the ball. On both sides of the ball, I think. So I do think that just being solid there should be enough. I do want to see a better game from Aiden Swanson. He has not been tremendous. He's not having the year he did last year as far as punting is concerned. So need to develop consistency there. And Nolan Hooser, hasn't missed an extra point or a field goal. Knock on wood. So let's keep that up. Even though it got a little hairy on that attempt last week.
It was a close one, but he's still batting 1,000 out there. So keep it up for him. And I agree with your sentiments on Swanson. He's got to become much more consistent with. I mean, barely hitting the ball 40 yards. That ain't going to do it, man. You gotta do a little bit better and help out the defense with flipping the field and pinning some teams back a little bit deeper than he has been doing. But we saw him do it all last season. He was very consistent last season. So, let's just hope that he's working through some early season stuff and he'll get it turned around.
Absolutely. And if Concepcion does play, contain him in the return game. Don't let him be don't let him be it because he really is a dynamic football player in that aspect too. So
just don't kick it to him. That's the best thing. Just kick it the other way.
Robert Gunn, just kick.
Yeah, just kick it out of the end zone. Don't kick it to him.
Yeah,
don't even give him a chance because he is that dynamic guy that'll bust the game wide open in a second and completely flip the momentum. So. Just don't kick it to him. All right, guys, we got 45 people in the live chat right now. Thank you guys so much for being here. Really do appreciate you. Hit that like button while you're in here. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing to the channel. Me and Jordan do the All-In Show every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. We also do a live post-game reaction to every single Clemson Tiger game throughout the entire season. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss one of our live shows, and we put out videos throughout the week as well. Thank you guys all for being here. We're not quite done. We got a couple more segments to get into. We're going to get into our score predictions next, and then we'll get into BYOG or sell, and then we'll turn it over to the comment section. So if you guys want to start getting some of your BYOG or Cell in the comment section. While we do the next topic, we will read some of yours while we are doing that segment as well. All right, Jordan, it's that time of the week again. NC State game, Clemson, South Carolina, 12 p.m. kickoff, at noon kickoff, early game, pick against the spread, score prediction. We're going to do it all right here, right now. Like I said before, the spread started out at 16.5. It is now up to 20.5. So Clemson minus 20.5. And then I think, what was the over under? Let me look it up real quick.
I think it's like 48.5. It's a pretty low total.
46.5 is the over under. That's the point total. So 46.5. So thoughts on the spread? And you can do your score prediction at the same time, however you want to roll with it. But I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah. Again, this is going to be a test for this team to see whether that App State game was just kind of a really nice aberration or a reflection of things to come. Not necessarily like 66 points and 56.5 type of performance, but being able to put it on Power 5 defenses. That have talent. Like it's not like you're playing Charleston Southern. Like being able to score consistently and create explosive plays against competent defenses. So I definitely don't expect I definitely don't expect an App State performance, but I do think that you will have an opportunity because I don't think this NC State defense is quite as good as some of the ones they've had in years past. I think there will be plays to be had, but I'm going to be, kind of conservative. I don't think that, they're going to lay it on them, like put up like 45 points.
Yeah.
I think 35 is right at that number. I think that's a good place because I don't expect them to generate a ton of offense. I think you'll get opportunities. So I'm feeling sort of a 35-17 type of game. You're laughing. I have a feeling I know why. I feel like we might be on the same page.
What does that say?
Wow. 35-17 Clemson. Yep.
35-17 Clemson.
So
yeah, you hit it right on the head. 35-17 Clemson. I'm gonna take North Carolina State in the points.
Yeah. I do think 20.5 is
number,
a lot
man.
to take.
And I know North Carolina State's been bad this year. They haven't been particularly productive on offense. Clemson's got a really good defense. But again, 20.5 points for a conference game is a lot of points. I don't really care who you're playing. That's a ton of points. A little too much for me. I went with the same score prediction as you.
It's a rivalry,
it's a rivalry. There's some, I don't know if it's bad blood, but there's a certain level of animosity between Dabo Swinney and Dave Dorn. There's no love lost there. So those two guys really don't, get along particularly well. So they're, NC State will definitely be ready to play. I just don't see us getting to that 20.5 number. We'll get close. I got 18 points is the spread in my score prediction. So I'm with you, 35-17. That kind of feels like how this game is going to go. Our offense will play pretty well and have its moments. And I do think their freshman quarterback is gonna give Clemson's defense some fits at points in time in this game, particularly with his feet. I see him breaking contain and keeping NC State on the field when they should be getting off the field with his legs. So, yeah, that's where I got it, 35-17, but I'm taking North Carolina State and the points Clemson will not cover.
Yep, you and I are on the same page. I can't fully buy in on this offense. Just haven't completely figured it out. This is again. While I don't think this NC State defense is great, I do think schematically they do present some challenges, and Cade historically has not played well against these types of defenses. So I think he'll play better. And I think that you'll see a heavy dose of Phil Mafah, but
I hope so.
I do think that NC State will get some stops, and that just prevents me from really buying in on them just kind of laying it on them like Tennessee did. I don't see that.
Right.
And I'm feeling 35-17. And again, you and I both agree that potentially the start of CJ Bailey starting might actually be a better thing for NC State than if Grayson McCall went out there. Because honestly, if Grayson McCall was going out there, my score prediction might be a little bit different.
I'll be honest. I'd probably take the 20. It sounds crazy, but I'd probably take the 20.5.
Yeah.
I'd probably pick Clemson to cover the spread if Grayson McCall was playing. And I know that sounds crazy. And at the beginning of the season, I would not have said anything like that. But just seeing how he played through 3 weeks,
awful, man.
And
like
two
one of the worst
weeks,
quarterbacks in the country.
Yeah, one of the worst, down in the hundreds in QB in total QBR.
Yeah.
And 2 of those teams that you played are not very good football teams.
No.
Like, let's just be honest. Tennessee's a really good team. I'll give you that. They smacked you, and we got smacked by Georgia too. So no harm, no foul there. But how they looked against Western Carolina and La Tech, I mean, that's crazy. That's not good. So I am of the opinion that it works against Clemson and works in NC State's favor that Bailey will be starting on Saturday. I think he's going to cause some issues for this defense.
Yep, I think so too. He is a talent, and I think he'll probably be a force to be reckoned with when he gets some, especially when he kind of grows into his body. Again, he's 6'6". He's like 210, and I question whether he's even that much, honestly. So really wiry, kind of like what Trevor Lawrence was coming in.
Yeah.
But he looks even he looks even thinner. So I again, that why it's even more important why you get pressure and get to, and not just get pressure, but get to him. Because and make the tackle. Make the tackle.
Yeah, don't let him slip out and then go run for freaking 20 yards, or run for 20 yards when it's 3rd and 15, and you're supposed to be getting off the field, and you bring the pressure, and then he breaks contain, and suddenly they got a fresh set of downs, because that's where the frustration sets in for the defense. So you got to keep contained on that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I think we 35-17. I feel like that's the first time we predicted the exact same score before. I don't know if that's a first.
Not this season. Not this season.
Yeah, definitely not this season. But I'm just trying to remember. Probably I would remember every single game preview.
Yeah, we've probably done it in the past, but not too often. Not too often do we have the exact same score prediction. I just had to show that I already had it written down in my notebook, so people don't think we're cheating. It was in there. It was in there. 35.
We don't discuss these beforehand. So
no. But yeah, we see eye to eye there. We got 40 people in the live chat right now. We got one more segment, guys, and then we're turning it over to the comment section. We're going to do BYOG or sell. You can get some of your comments in on the BYOG or sell. We might read a couple of them. But Jordan, I will start off. Hold on. Let me get my banner. Oh, Lord. I'm a professional, guys. Don't worry about it. I promise. I know what I'm doing. All right, guys. BYOG or sell. I will start the night off with my very own BYOG or sell. This dates back all the way to last year, Jordan. BYOG or sell. Will Clemson finally go through a game without a turnover?
Man, they're due for a turnoverless game.
It has now been, let's see, 13 games last season. It's been 15 games.
15. Yep.
It's been 15 games since Clemson has not turned the ball over in a game.
Well, and actually, when you think about it, it's been 16. Because if you include the Orange Bowl in
the Orange Bowl against Tennessee. Yeah, so 16 games. It's been 16 games stretching over three separate.
We didn't turn the ball over against North Carolina in the ACC championship, did we?
No, we didn't.
I don't think we did. Yeah.
No. So stretching over 3 seasons and 16 games, Clemson has turned the ball over for 16 straight contests. So BYOG or sell, Clemson gets out of Death Valley on Saturday without a single offensive turnover.
I gotta sell. I just they're due, but like, man, until they actually do it, it's like I'm expecting some BS. Like even against App State, it was a fumble and a punt return. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I gotta sell, but I don't think it'll be a catastrophic turnover like the ones we saw last year. I think it could be just a fumble or a special teams mistake or something.
Yeah, like it was last week. We almost got out of there last
interception, like just taking a shot.
Right, and that's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to sell, and the reason being is kind of the way that North Carolina State plays. I could see Cade maybe trying to force one.
Yep.
And them dropping back into coverage and just snagging one. I could definitely see that happening. Just him trying to force something, make something happen, and they get an interception. So I got to sell, but eventually, I hope one game this year will break the now 16 game streak that is our turnover woes. The turnover woes of the Clemson Tigers, 16 games.
Yep. All right. BYOG or sell. Clemson hits 175 rushing yards as a team.
Ooh. That's a lot of rushing yards.
It is a lot.
I'm gonna buy. I think Clemson could run as much as they want to in this game, and I could see Phil breaking off a couple big ones. Jay Haynes as well, using his speed to get on the outside. I will buy, but it's going to be close, I think.
I am. Oh. You see, I didn't even have my answer when I said this, so I'm still thinking about it.
You got to run through it. Yeah, no, I get you.
I'm gonna sell because 175 is a lot, but I do think that I think 150 is that target. I feel like you should feel pretty good about if Clemson hits 150 rushing yards. I think you should feel good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, 175 it is.
It is a lot. It is a lot. Reluctantly,
they are going to want to throw the ball, so I'm just like,
I'm banking on, like, for that 175. Like, I'm banking on a couple big runs in there.
Yeah.
Obviously. So I'm gonna buy. All right, I got one for you, centered around the running game as well. I'm gonna steal this from one of the people in our comment section. It was way up at the top at the beginning of the show, but Tiggs got in there and was like, BYOG or sell. Phil Maffa goes over 100 yards against NC State.
BYOG. I like it. I think this is a
I think this is a big day for Phil. This is one of them contests where he can that O-line can kind of lean on that defensive line and Phil can go to work. I'm BYOG on that as well.
All right. BYOG or sell. Clemson gets 3 or more sacks. Oh my God! As soon as I say that, David Wood.
Yo, that's crazy.
David, get out of my head, bro.
Yo.
I was literally thinking. Is
that your burner account?
We talked all about sacks, and I was like, 3 or more sacks.
Is David Wood? Is that your burner account, Jordan?
Yeah, he must be. Yeah, I don't know. Get out of my head, David. I don't like that.
3 or more sacks. I'm gonna buy. I think Clemson will turn up the heat on the young quarterback to try to kind of get in his head, intimidate him a little bit, throw him off his game, make him feel uncomfortable, make him feel unsure back there. I think Clemson will turn up the heat on him and try to get him on the ground early in this game. So I'll buy. I think we get 3 sacks.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I think this is it's a big opportunity because this defense hasn't really had a chance to get after it. They didn't sack Joey Aguilar last week. They didn't sack. Well, they sacked Carson Beck once. So it's going to be a good opportunity for them, I think.
Yeah, I heard Wes Goodwin talk about their drop back rate or their drop back time for App State, and he was like it was like 1.2 seconds, and they got rid of the ball.
Yeah, they schemed around.
They were like, you are not about to kill our quarterback. This is not happening. You got 1 second and throw the ball. If it ain't there, just throw it.
That really is what they did. I mean, they did a lot of heavy play action sets,
right?
And a lot of two route. Sometimes they were doing 2 route combos just to make sure they had blockers,
right?
And give Joey just that extra split second of time to throw.
Yeah.
So I think that's something you're going to see from a lot of teams. That's just unfortunately the reality. When you have as good of a defensive line as you do, teams are going to do. They're going to commit. They're going to overcommit resources to make sure you're not tearing them apart up front. So, I think you'll see a little bit of that from NC State, but I think that young quarterback on the road, he's not going to be as quick to get the ball out and quick with his reads and his eyes as say a Joey Aguilar who's played a lot of football at the JUCO level and then came up to App State. So I do think that this is going to be a different test for him.
Yeah, for sure. Complete different deal than playing La Tech in the second half last week. This defense is going to be for real. They're going to come after him. And our secondary is not, is no slouch either. So,
and honestly, I think I think you're playing a worse offensive line than you did against App State.
That's how they've looked so far this season. Yeah, probably. That's crazy to say, but
yeah.
It kind of is what it is at this point. All right, Jordan. I think that's going to do it. That is going to do it for the show tonight. That concludes our planned portion of tonight's show. Thank you guys so much. We got 50 people in the live chat. I'm going to check on y'all. Y'all been doing y'all's homework? I'm going to check on y'all real quick. Where's our likes at? Y'all like to play games.
Yeah, I typically have it up, but
I like to play games. Let me see
I was
where
looking
we're at.
something up, and I
went
went
a respectable average. Okay, we got 42 likes and 50 people in the live chat. Good job.
That's about as good of a ratio as we've had.
You guys are doing great. I appreciate each and every one of you. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much for showing up tonight. The show is not over. Stick around. Get into the comment section. Me and Jordan are about to turn it over to you guys for a little bit and chop it up, answer your questions, and just see what y'all want to talk about. So without further ado, Jordan, let's kick it to the people.
Let's do it. I was like, we had 2 starred comments, but nope, those were the super chats that we already got. See some people talking about Bo Collins for some reason.
Bo Collins.
Oh man, Tiggs had a
Ron Collins.
BYOG or I just passed it. Oh, Tiggs it had it says BYOG or sell. Clemson gets a pick 6.
Mm.
I'm gonna sell that.
Yeah.
But
we dropped one last week.
We did drop one last
Shelton Lewis.
week.
Shelton
Right,
Lewis dropped
Shelton
one
Lewis.
last week.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
I do think I do think you'll. I think interceptions. I think you will create a couple turnovers, but going back for 6, and it specifically being an interception,
pick 6.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's tough.
I'm a sell.
Yeah,
So.
you know, if Grayson McCall was out there, I might. This has been a Grayson McCall dunk session.
We slandering Grayson McCall over here tonight.
Hey, I mean, I watched him in high school. To be honest with you, I was never all that impressed with him at Porter Ridge. So I did not think he would be the quarterback he was at Coastal Carolina. So, you know, all credit to him. But, you know,
he was good at Coastal, man.
Yeah. But I think the jump to P4 and being outside of that option system that really didn't ask him to make a ton of reads, like traditional quarterback reads, was I think that was kind of masking some of his deficiencies. And I think there's a reason why he wasn't more coveted coming out of the portal than he was. You know, I think Auburn might have been interested, but there were a lot of teams that kind of were wary about him, you know, for that very reason. So
here's one for you. John Sarin says BYOG or sell. Stefan Green gets over 20 snaps this Saturday.
Ooh. $20. It's gonna. I'm gonna sell. 20 is a lot. Because I think just because of how crowded you already are from as far as your defensive tackle room is concerned, I think that's a lot. But I do think he'll play some. Like I could see 10 to 15 snaps.
Oh yeah, I was just about to say that 10 to 15 maybe. I don't know that he gets to 20. Maybe close, like I said, 15 possibly, but I don't know that he gets.
I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him out there. Although if I were to wake up at 4:00 on Saturday and I look at the snap count and it says Stefan Green, like his snap count says over 20, I'm gonna think the worst. Like, oh God, who got hurt? But I do want to see him. I do want to see him play more. I mean, that's my guy.
Or we could look at it the opposite way. We got a hold of the game really quickly and we just started rotating dudes in again.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, like a 28-0 in the first quarters type.
Yeah, you know. Maybe we'll beat our last record. We said no, we won't. I'm just gonna stop that now.
Yeah,
it's not gonna happen. It's okay though. We can enjoy it for what it was.
Yeah, that's difficult. Isaac, BYOG or sell. Cade will be in New York at seasons, and I'm selling.
Hard sell.
That game against App State was a lot of fun, but I don't think he's going to have enough performances, even really like close to that, to the point where he's going to be in New York. But I do think that the Heisman race is pretty wide open, so I'll give him that. But that's really hard, man, because I mean we're talking about how many people typically go. Well, it depends. It's different every year, but it's usually like 4.
Usually like 3 to 4.
3 or 4 people.
Depending on like the closeness of the race and things like that. It's usually like 3, sometimes 4 guys. But
I'm definitely selling.
It's just 3 dudes that show up. So
Cade still has to prove that he can play to that. You know, he can be a plus or like good to elite type player on a consistent basis.
We have yet to show, even as an offense, that we are explosive from week to week.
Right.
We've seen it once. we got to see it. You know, I'm still cautious about this Clemson offense. It looked great, but I need to see it, one, against better competition. Two, I need to see it the following week, right? Start to build that consistency. We haven't seen that. So,
and again, we don't mean like they need to score 66, 56 in the first half for me to believe, but they need to play with that same level of finesse and ease that they did against App State. Like, just when the plays are there. Like, there were a lot of opportunities against App State. I don't think there's going to be quite as many against NC State, but when you do get them, they do need to look just as easy and well executed as they did. And Cade has to look just as comfortable, in the pocket, throwing the football on time. And his receivers need to make plays, like all of that, the timing, all of that. Like, you'll be able to tell, like, if their momentum carried over from that App State game, even if the scoreboard doesn't reflect it. So it really is about how they look. Like, does the easy stuff become hard again, and are we kind of like trudging along and kind of putting together like 11, 12 play drives and then stalling in the red zone? Like, I mean, that was just more symptoms of last year. Then we're like, okay, yeah, maybe this group hasn't grown up as much as we think, and so got to see it consistently.
Have to.
David said start a new section called Pookie's Picks. Yeah, that.
Oh, yeah. We'll do a new segment on the show, Pookie's Picks. We'll have them go through the top 25.
That is definitely not happening. We're not ever. But let's never talk about this again. Jack with a BYOG or sell. Clemson wins this game 37-21 over NC State. Well, I'm selling because I picked a different score. That's why.
35-17. I'm buying that one. You should have seen the comment earlier. I think you missed it. But they were trying to rename our show, and it was the Pookie and Paul show. Oh my goodness. Man. Oh geez. That's ridiculous.
This is going to be a thing now, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's too late now. It's already a thing.
Oh man, we got Chris Brown in the chat. He says
I didn't know he liked college football.
Yeah, me neither, man. I didn't even know. I didn't know he was a Clemson fan either. BYOG or so. He says 2 or more freshman wide receiver touchdowns. Sell, because you got 2 options, and I'm not sure if TJ Moore is going to play. They're going to get. Well, I mean, he's going to play, but I'm not sure if he's going to get enough opportunities in this game. So well, you know what? That could also mean Bryant Wesco just has two plus touchdowns. Yeah. Now that. That's kind of on the, that makes things a little bit more. I'm still going to sell. I'm still going to sell. I feel like they're going to try to get. I think Jake Brenningstool, in the red zone, he's going to be a big option for them. Obviously, we know what Antonio Williams is provides. I know it's hard to believe. Well, it might not be hard to believe for people listening, but Adam Randall does not have a receiving touchdown in his career yet. So. I would kind of like him to get one.
Yeah, for sure.
This week, because it just feels like, say what you want about how he's played. I thought he had a better game against App State. Certainly way better than he did against Georgia. But I still want him to do well, and it feels wrong that he's in his junior year and he's played a decent enough amount of football that he should have at least one touchdown by now. I want to see him get a target.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see him. He's too big to not have a receiving touchdown. But I digress. I will be a contrarian and just say bye.
Okay.
By the 2 freshman wide receivers, or the same freshman wide receiver scores 2 touchdowns.
John says BYOG or sell. Cade finally lays eyes on Stellato and he gets a receiving touchdown this week.
Yo, I hope so for Stellato's sake.
Yeah,
man.
me too, man. He has been going through it because
Hey, man, he runs wide open.
He gets open.
Like last week, that Brenningstool touchdown.
Yeah,
there was also he could also throw it to Stellato, and that would have been
Stellato was probably the better read because
it was a much better read.
Yeah,
because that was a dangerous pass. It worked out. But it was like going back and looking at it, it was pretty dangerous.
Against a better safety, that might have been a pick. So, like,
it very well, at least an incompletion.
Yeah,
against a better safety. So the read truly was Stellato on that play, but it worked out for a touchdown anyway. And I think that speaks more to what you were saying, the competition, rather than it being a truly good decision by Cade. But regardless, it worked out. And he got a touchdown out of it, and that's all you care about. Quarterbacks make throws all the times that they're not supposed to make, and their receivers make them right. So shout out to Brenningstool for catching that literally on his hip. I don't even know how he caught that ball.
Yeah, no, he wasn't even looking.
In the manner that he did.
Yeah.
And then just took off. But yeah, poor Troy Stellato was out there wide open, ready to score as well. So I'll buy. I'll buy just to send good vibes to the Troy Stellato way, and hope that he gets a receiving touchdown this week. And I hope it's an explosive one too.
Yeah, that would be nice. David, buy or sell. Hannafin will get 7 or more snaps. I'm selling.
Sell.
I don't think he's ready to go.
No.
He played like I applauded his effort against App State, but he was in terms of where he was supposed to be and where he was,
he had no clue what he was doing.
Yeah,
but he was going full speed.
Yeah,
he was going full speed.
Yes,
so shout out to him. But yeah, no, he had no clue what he was supposed to be doing, which is not his fault. He literally just got switched over. So yeah, he'll get there. I think so, but no, unless you look up and Clemson's up by 30 plus points or something like that, then maybe.
Yeah. We've got my boy Sports Talk with Austin. Good to see you, man. It's been a minute. My boy, Louisville fan, he says, if Clemson loses this game, what's going to be the moral or morale afterwards? Well, the vibes would not be very good. I mean,
not good.
You lose to a team at home that you haven't lost to at home in 22 years. Like that's with that alone. And then obviously you have to, reevaluate your position on this team again. And like, okay, obviously it depends on what the loss looks like, but this is a game you shouldn't lose.
In my mind, for Clemson to lose this game, they would have to go out there and prove to everyone that they are closer to the offense that trotted out there against Georgia and couldn't execute versus the offense that trotted out there against App State. So that's what the morale, I think in simplest terms for me, would mean that we're closer to the Georgia version that we saw than we are the App State. It would mean that App State was an aberration. It was, it was a once in a lifetime thing. It wasn't, we just happened to strike gold once, if you will.
Yep.
That's what that would mean to me, because this NC State team is not that good.
No.
And I'm not trying to disrespect them or, it's just the pieces they collected throughout the offseason, they're clearly not working. For whatever reason. They're just not working.
It's not meshing. And so
it's like Florida State, the pieces that they collect is clearly not working.
Right. Not quite as bad as Florida State.
No, not as bad, and their record's not nearly as bad, but they've looked really bad in every single game they've played this year. They have not looked like a good football team yet this season. So if they came into Death Valley and suddenly looked like
with a true freshman quarterback,
and suddenly looked like a good football team, Yeah, that would spell problems for the Tigers. That's for sure. And we would not be coming on here and having a very happy post-game live. That's for certain.
All right.
And Dave Doran would have a win in Death Valley, and that would that might be the worst thing of all.
Yeah, I'd be sick to my stomach. It would be like if Clemson loses this game, absolutely one of the more like inexcusable losses in Dabo's tenure, at least on paper right now. Like,
yeah.
So, you tune in for that post game. If that happens, tune in for the post game regardless, because I like having you here. But if you want to see like me like elevated and ranting, like come out and lose this game. Hustler Inc. says it will be a miracle for K. Klubnik to finally hit Choice to Lotto and strive for it. Yeah. I don't know what I don't know what it is, man, but I need it. Just to feel good, like okay, like things are good between them. Like if we see like if there's like another like play where Troy's like wide open, like in the end zone, and like Cade just looks like it'd be even worse if Cade looks at him and doesn't throw it. I guess
it just moves to the next guy. Like
dang,
bro.
All right. John asks, are the announcers this Saturday McDonough and McElroy? Yeah, I believe so.
Yep. Our boy McElroy.
Porsche Pal 79 says, I could see Garrett coming back to the exact same look and then have Cade flip back once the safety is out of position and throw it to a wide open stuff. Oh, yeah, talking about, I mean, the play was there to be had. I'm sure they went over that in film review.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. They talked about it, of course.
Because, you have to be – good teams are process-oriented. So, like, just because you scored a touchdown on the play doesn't mean it was necessarily the best read, the best throw you could have made.
Exactly.
And then you talk about that. It's like, well, it's like you should have hit it. It's like you should have hit Stellato here. Like, that's what good coaches do. Like, even like the good plays, like the good resulting plays are not always good plays. So you gotta be more about the process than the result, because sometimes you get lucky. See. David says might want to move Hannafin to linebacker. No, I think he's too small. I mean, he played linebacker in high school because he was at a small private school in Massachusetts. Like I don't think that's necessarily where you want him to be playing.
Yeah.
I think defensive back. Because I think athletically he has the speed to be a defensive back. Guy more in the box, like definitely. But like I don't want him playing deep coverage, but it'll allow him to use some of his linebacker ability and tendencies. But I think you don't want to put on have him put on a ton of weight necessarily, because I'm not sure he's going to be one to kind of keep that athleticism.
Yeah.
So but we'll see, and especially since where would he fit kind of in that depth chart at linebacker? It's
he ain't getting on the field.
He's not getting on the field. There's not really a pathway to playing time there.
He'd be buried in that depth chart.
There's too many guys that have played a lot of football and have way more experience. Just practicing at that position.
Playing DB or getting in at nickel or something like that's a little bit different. But
because he'd be put in the exact same situation. If he were to switch to linebacker, he'd basically be in almost the same situation he was at wide receiver.
Yeah, you're just not getting on the field.
Yeah, there's too many. Like there's guys younger than you that are farther ahead of you, like
Barrett Carter, Wade Woodaz, D. Creighton, Sammy Brown.
Yeah, Jamal Anderson, BJ Kuba Taylor.
Yes.
Like
you're below all
Joe
of
Wilkinson, even Joe Wilkinson.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I don't. Yeah,
you'd literally probably be last on the depth chart in the linebacker room. Only ahead of Kobe McLeod because he tore his ACL.
Because he tore his ACL. Yeah.
Not making jokes about tearing.
That's not funny, but yeah.
No, it's not funny, but like you get what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I get you. They're going to clip this and say
they probably will, man. They'll be like, look at these guys making fun of Clemson players tearing their ACL.
Clemson player laughs at player tearing ACL.
Yeah, like,
we're gonna get fired, bro.
Whatever. Yeah, Mark will fire us. It's okay.
Yeah. John says Doran would have to give free pagers to all Clemson starters to win this game. Yeah.
Yeah. We can't allow that guy to win in Death Valley. That's unacceptable. Oh dang. That's
yeah. Isaac says the post game would be very family friendly if we lose this game. Yeah. That'd be one way to describe it. Yeah.
Depends on your family, I guess.
Brandon says if Troy Stellato doesn't get targeted this week, he should go ahead and get started with his modeling career. Doesn't he have an uncle that oh shoot, he does something with baseball. I'm forgetting his name. He does something with MLB, something like that. I think it's his uncle. It's not his dad. I think it's his uncle.
Here's our headline, Jordan.
Tonight at 11, 2 Clemson fans caught laughing at injured Clemson player. Yep.
There it is.
We're caught in 4K, brother.
They're gonna lead the news with that one.
We're cooked. They're gonna cut this up. They're gonna cut that up and unironically and post it as a video.
Probably.
Okay, he's an NFL agent. Yeah, Sean Stellato. Oh. His client is Tommy DeVito. Yeah. Oh man, Tommy DeVito.
Wow.
You know what? Good for Tommy DeVito. You know, he is still
shout in the league. Out Tommy DeVito, bro.
he is a backup quarterback in the league. I did not think he would ever make it that far.
That's one of the best jobs you can have in the NFL, dude.
Yeah.
Just be a journeyman backup. Just collect a paycheck to root the starter on. Like, good job, buddy. You did great out there.
I remember, like, real ones remember, like, the Tommy DeVito offseason hype, like, every season when he was at Syracuse.
Every year. Every year. Oh, man.
Oh, man. Good for Tommy DeVito. He's with the Giants, right? I think something like that. I think he's with the Giants,
I'm not sure who he's with.
I know he's on somebody's roster.
To be completely honest, I didn't know he was still in the NFL.
Maybe he's not, but I know he was. I know he was last year because he played.
Of course, I don't follow the NFL like I do college football. So,
of course, I look up Tommy DeVito and it gives me the Four Seasons, the lead singer of the Four Seasons.
Wrong one.
Yeah, not that one. Yeah, he's still on the Giants. Wow, good for him, man. Complete aside, completely unrelated, but I was just like, I just went down the Tommy DeVito rabbit hole.
Hustler Inc. said he won like 6 games for the Giants last year. He's a pretty
I was like, I knew he played last year. I just couldn't remember if he did make the roster, this season. So I think he did.
Tommy DeVito.
Because I never thought he was going to be anything other than like a camp like guy in the league. Like he'd get a shot at an NFL training camp and then get cut.
Just be a camp arm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but he stuck around and he had some good games last year. Hey, Tommy DeVito.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
People talking about Adam Randall. like I don't like we don't like to like talk about players like speculate on them like transferring and stuff. Like I will say this, I know that Adam is he loves he loves being at Clemson. So I mean, if it ever got to that point,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. I think because he's still getting opportunities out there. So like he's not necessarily like they haven't like completely demoted him. Like he's not just there sitting on the bench.
Right. He's not starting, but I mean, I think he plays a fair amount. I think. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. He really does. You know, when you hear him talk to the the media and interviews and stuff like that, he really likes Clemson. But again, that sometimes you got to move on and find a better opportunity where you get more playing time, and I would completely understand that.
Yeah, if he does that, I completely understand.
I don't think he's a guy that easily come to that conclusion.
Yeah,
I think. I think it's something that he would really have to think about and consider before just jumping to the transfer conclusion. Not that he won't transfer. He very well could, but
yeah, and he got 4 catches last week. Like so, it's not like he's just not being involved. They still give him opportunity. He got demoted. I mean, in his snap count, rightfully so from his Georgia performance. So it's been 2 games. So I think people have kind of. I have not sold like I'm not completely sold on or I haven't sold completely my stock on Adam Randall. Like it's been 2 games and he played a lot. He had one really bad game, and then last week I thought he played well. He didn't have like the explosive plays, but he caught the ball when it was thrown to him, and a couple of them were pretty tough. That one at the goal line where he got rocked, like maybe last year, previous year's versions of Adam Randall might not hold on to that. So, I'm not complete. I think Adam Randall still has a place in this offense if he, plays like he did against App, and not like how he did against Georgia. So,
yeah,
I'm not. I'm not. I'm definitely not like expecting some kind of like he's going to put it all together, like next this weekend and have like an 100-yard 2 touchdown performance. But I do think he has a role in this offense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I was going to say. Like he's got a place on this offense, and he can be a weapon for Cade. So I don't think he's a guy that you just like sit on the bench the rest of the year and he don't play.
Yeah,
I don't think he's that.
All right, let's do a couple more and then we'll get on out of here. Eric asks how many wide receiver. I think he means a wide receiver that we lost in the portal the last couple of years. We haven't put out a quality wide receiver in a while. I mean, Bo Collins, Dakari Collins, and EJ Williams,
and
Ajo,
and Frank Latson.
Yeah, Frank Latson. Is that all?
I think that's just off the top of our head, but I think we hit everybody who's left.
Brandon Spector. He technically, Brandon Spector, but
Brandon Spector, he did leave.
I forgot where he transferred, but he had to. I think he had to medically retire, or he. I know he was out for the year.
I was about to say, didn't he hang it up? Like he's done with football, right?
Well, like he transferred. I forget what school he transferred. He entered the transfer portal and transferred, but then I think he had an injury in spring or something like that.
Oh, Jack State is
Jack. Yeah, that's right. Yep, Jacksonville State. I think that's all of them. And so you've had none of them have. Well, I don't want to say that. How has EJ Williams done this year? Because I know because Indiana's had a couple of nice games. So has he been?
I don't
has he
know.
been a part of it?
I'm not sure.
23 catches for 281 yards on the season for
That's
EJ.
pretty good. Through what, 3 games?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. It's not bad.
Oh no, wait, no, that's last year.
What's up with Tyler Brown?
Those were his stats from last year. I don't know if he's what is it?
That was last year. Okay. Wow, that was the whole season?
I guess so.
Oh, okay.
He's still on the roster, isn't he? Yeah,
I would assume.
he is. I guess he's just not. I guess he's just not playing. Oh, that's awkward. So and EJ Williams, talk about one of the more disappointing receivers prospects that you've had in a while.
Man, I thought he was going to be special when we got him, dude.
Yeah, and his freshman year was so promising too.
So good.
Yeah.
It looked.
So, oh man, we got us another one. He made that. Remember that one-handed catch he made in the ACC championship game against Notre Dame?
What happened to Lynn Dixon? He transferred.
Yeah, he transferred twice. Transferred to Tennessee. Was it? Did he transfer to Tennessee first, and then I think it was Tennessee first, and then West Virginia, and he didn't. And he
didn't play for either team.
Didn't play for either one of them.
Yeah,
and now he's. Well, I mean, he's out of college now. He's not even. I don't know what he's doing now. He might have. Well, I think he might be back in Georgia, back where he's from. So, yeah.
Ches Malusi's doing all right up at Wisconsin.
Yeah, but he got hurt again.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so, but just in talking in terms of wide receivers, Joe didn't really do anything at USF, but he's balling out in the CFL. So that's interesting. Who were the other guys we named? We named Takari Collins. He's been a solid. I mean, Bo Collins has been the best receiver that's transferred, that's left your program. Bo Collins has been pretty good for Notre Dame.
He's done pretty decent at Notre Dame so far this year. So
that's.
Do we know what happened between?
But it's Bo Collins. It's Bo Collins. Then probably Takari Collins. Like there's probably a significant drop from Bo Collins to Takari Collins, and then it's everybody else in terms of the receivers that have left. Has not been a very Porsche Palace. So, as do we know what happened between Lynn Dixon and CJ Spiller? It's a very long story, and I don't want to speak on. I've been told things, but I don't want to speak on a situation that I was not directly involved in, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
I think I will say this. I think CJ handled that situation.
Yeah, he was in CJ's doghouse for a while. So
yeah. There was a lot that went into that, but I think CJ handled that well. If what I was told is true. So, and that's no hate to Lynn because
it's what it is, man. It doesn't always work out,
right?
And it doesn't make that doesn't make Lynn a bad person. Doesn't make CJ a bad person. Just it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And that's how it goes sometimes. Y'all think Williams leaves after this year for the NFL? No.
I don't think so. It would take. He's not on. I think he'd have to be in. He'd have to have a bigger year, and I think I really don't know what the NFL thinks of him right now.
Yeah.
Just because of last year, he spent a lot of time hurt. I think they probably want to see more from him. So I would lean towards no, and I think Antonio, he's always struck me as a 4-year guy anyway. So I think he comes back. But hey, there's a lot of games left to be played, and maybe things look differently.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of season he has, but I would guess he comes back.
Yeah, and just my personal opinion, I think Antonio Williams is a really, really talented receiver, but he's kind of a tweener. He doesn't really have where he fits in an NFL wide receiver room is. It'd probably be up to the individual scout evaluating him, because he is kind of a tweener, and he's not super traitsy in any particular way. So it's when there's not really anything that you like that jumps off the page from a physical profile standpoint, it makes it kind of difficult to kind of pinpoint, kind of what his draft stock would be. But I don't know. We'll see.
K Club Enthusiast said, I saw Darren Richer at the Greenville airport a couple months ago. That's cool. Shout out Darren Richer.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Good dude. Yeah, Eric says we get to play Kobe Pace this year. Yeah, and he's their number. I think he's their number one back now. He's been the guy. He was kind of in a rotation past couple of years.
Also, Tony Elliott's coming home party.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the Valley.
John says Ladson's not even first string at UMass. Wow.
Dang.
That's tough. Man, that group of Ladson and Ngata.
None of them panned out, man.
Yeah,
Joe. None of them panned out. Even when they left Clemson, they didn't.
Ngata's been the best one. He's still on the Eagles. Like he's like, I think he's on their practice squad. That's about his best. I keep saying that, but Joe for it has been like a CFL superstar. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, I guess that's true. Yeah.
So I got to give him credit where credit's due.
Of course, it's still a professional football league. It's not the NFL, but I mean.
John says Andrew Makuba was the best to transfer out so far to me. I would agree. I would say so. You do have Darian Kendrick. I think he's up there.
Yeah, Darian Kendrick was definitely a big loss.
But that was kind. But that one
he was removed from the team.
So that one's kind of a gray area if you want to count that.
Because he didn't have a spot on Clemson's roster anymore. He may have transferred anyway. I don't know, but he was kicked off the team.
I think those are the two that have been your best. Levante Bentley has been okay for Colorado.
Yeah. How's we had a lineman transfer over there. What?
Zach Owens.
Zach Owens.
I think he's a backup.
Is he playing, or is he a backup?
I think he's a backup. I think he's like he might be second string.
That's bad because they got a terrible offensive line.
Yeah.
No offense to Colorado or Zach Owens. I'm just.
Well, they brought in a ton of transfers there, so.
Yeah, they got like 60 transfers. That's insane. Think about that number. That's insane, dude.
Isaac asks about TJ. Oh man, I haven't thought about TJ Chase in forever.
TJ Chase.
Yeah,
Wow.
Where did he transfer?
I have no idea. I completely forgot about him.
Did he transfer? You know what? Let me look that up. I have not thought about him in a while. He was a guy that would come in and catch a couple touchdowns. Yeah, he was at FAU. That's right. Yeah, I mean, he didn't really do anything at FAU. He had like 500 receiving yards in 2 seasons. So But
I mean,
trying to remember, I could not remember if he transferred or if he had graduated. Talking
about Trevor Lawrence.
There was one question before. David asks, is Blake Miller going to the NFL after this season? I mean,
It's possible.
if he stays on this track, I think there's a decent chance. Yeah, I've seen him in a lot of, I've seen him in some first round mocks. I've seen him in the top 2 rounds. Like, he's a well thought of. He's one of the better tackle prospects, according to
I think
the draft world right now.
I think he's probably gone.
I would lean towards him leaving. Yeah,
that would mean you lose 3 off of this offensive line.
Yeah, because you can get Tristan Lay back.
I think Tristan Lay comes back.
So Tate Parks and Miller.
Yeah, Tate Parks and Miller I think will be gone.
Yeah,
and then we'll have Lithicum and Tristan returning as starters, and then you would think Harris Sewell would step in. Colin Sadler, you would assume, would step in, but don't count out the young guys either. So
sure. Cade asked about Cade Klubnik enthusiast. I said Cade like I'm talking about Cade Klubnik. Cade Klubnik enthusiast says, "How's Toriano Pride doing?" He's doing. He's starting for Mizzou. I think he had a pick 6 in one of their games I saw.
Yeah.
So, good for him.
Yeah.
I think he did. I think in the Boston College game, I think he got picked on a little bit, but he's a starter for them as far as I know. Missouri loves getting defensive backs from Clemson. They also got Joseph Charleston. That's a guy I forgot to mention when we were talking about transfers. Joseph Charleston ended up being pretty good for them. He's still on the team, I think. I think he still starts for them at safety. Yeah, Joseph Charleston was solid. So that's a guy I don't think a lot of people even remember his name because I think he was only here for like 2 seasons, and I remember he played a decent bit in the COVID year. I think that, but did he transfer after that year or the year after? I think it might have been the year after.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure.
But I think that's going to do it, guys. We spent a lot of time. Like we spent a good 40 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
Taking comments. So I'm ready to call it a night. I am sleepy.
Me as well. I got work in the morning. Jordan's got work in the morning. I'm sure most of you degenerates have work in the morning as well. But again, appreciate each and every one of you for stopping in, chopping it up with us in the comments section, supporting the show, supporting the channel. Thank you guys so much. You truly are what makes this channel what it is, and we are greatly appreciative of your guys' contributions to the show and this channel. So hope you guys have a great rest of the week. Look forward to the game on Saturday. Look forward to seeing you guys in the post-game live. Do not forget, check out me and Jordan immediately following the North Carolina State game, probably somewhere around 3:30-ish will be when we'll start the show. Just depends on the end of the game and us firing up the stream and all of that stuff. So stay tuned. We'll put it out there. The stream will be made Friday night prior to the game. So just check back in. We'll be live breaking down, giving you guys our live post-game reaction. I'll probably be not in this home studio that I have here. I'll probably be on the road, but I'll still be tuning in with you guys and hanging out.
Yep, and here's to a great return from this little hiatus. I mean, the bye week was really really gnawing at me, because this game in particular I've been anticipating. I anticipate it every year, and I cannot wait to break it down on Saturday. So we will see you guys then.
It's going to be a ton of fun. Oh, before we get out of here, almost forgot. Shout out to those that contributed via Super Chat. One more shout out to you guys.
Yes.
Zachariah, thank you so much for the $5 Super Chat. Appreciate your support. Shout out to your girlfriend. Tell her thank you for giving up her flower money so that me and Jordan can continue to do the show. And Kuzi got in here. Pookie Jojo Bear, thank you for your $5 Super Chat as well. Thank you for supporting the show. Until next time, guys, I'm Tiger Paul Craven. He's Jordan Bowman. We'll see you on Saturday. Go Tigers.
Later, y'all.